Do you want to write a book? If that's the case, then you've come to the right place. In this video, I'm going to go through my 5-step process on how to write a book and not just talk about writing. So a lot of people dream about writing a book, but it can be a daunting task. I mean, how do you break down 100,000 words story into actually sitting down and writing each day? It can be very overwhelming if you look at the big goal. That is why I wanted to go through my process and a step-by-step guide on how I do it. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about how you can create time for writing and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's dive in. So the first step to writing a book is, of course, to come up with some kind of an idea. And in this step, I usually sit down and start brainstorming. So I actually have in the notes app on my phone, I always write down all the ideas that I get and just to, remember them. I know that some writers do it the opposite way, like Stephen King says in his book on writing. He says that if an idea isn't good enough, he will write it. But if he forgets the idea, then he thinks that it probably wasn't substantial enough. So here, there are different approaches to this. I'm more of the philosophy that I'll write down the idea and then maybe I'll develop, maybe I'll continue developing it into a book. But if you have no clue on what to write, there are actually a lot of good videos on how to come up with ideas here on YouTube. You can think about what kind of themes you like. Is there some kind of question that you want to dive into and explore? Is there anything you want to learn, or are there any kind of unique experience that you want to share, or whatever? And once I have come up with some kind of an idea, I usually start a free form, blank page, and in there I will, just add in pictures that has to do with the theme or the world, depending on if I write fantasy, there's a lot of world building, but if I write contemporary romance, then maybe I want to get the sensation of the book or whatever. If there's any kind of photos that I will draw inspiration from, basically. And after that, I usually start writing down what kind of characters I think will be in the book. And the next step when it comes to developing your idea is, of course, to do some kind of outline. And here, of course, it's also, again, it depends. Are you a pantser or are you a plotter or somewhere in between? I think no matter what, it's always good to have some kind of idea of, the big strokes. Maybe you'll just write down the top points or whatever, because if you do that, you will have a direction, you will know where to go. When it comes to myself, I start by looking at the big plot points, what will happen at the first pinch point, at the second pinch point, at the first plot point, at the midpoint, just to make sure that the story structure is good enough. And also for me to get an overview and see if the story holds. Because once I do this, I can also see that, okay, well, maybe there's not enough conflict in the beginning. Like I need a stronger opening, or maybe the climax isn't big enough, whatever. But it's very easy to see once you've written some kind of outline. If you're a pantser, then maybe you will look at this while revising instead. And yeah, that's fine too. But know that there might be more editing for you to do. Nowadays, I even plan down to a chapter outline where I write basically one sentence about each chapter, just so I know what it's going to contain. But I mean, that still leaves me a lot of room for creativity, because I mean, one sentence is probably going to turn into 2,000 words. So yeah. And step number 2, when it comes to how to write a book, is to plan, create some kind of writing schedule and decide on which tools you're going to use. So one of the best things that I've done when it comes to writing, when it comes to productivity and writing, is to decide on a dedicated time every day when I write. For me, I'm a morning person, as you probably, for those of you who watch my other videos, you know this by now, but I love writing in the morning because my head is very clear, and there are not anything else that needs my attention. But like try to look at your calendar, look at your life and see where can I fit in my writing. Maybe you can, write for 15 minutes during your lunch break, or you can, dictate your story into your phone whilst walking to your job or whatever. Because here, like, you don't need to have 8 hours for writing. You don't even need an entire day. It's okay if you only have 10 minutes or 3 minutes. That's a lot better than nothing. But make sure to try to create some kind of schedule and dedicate specific time for your writing. Because the thing is also that if you write consistently, it will be a lot easier for you to stay in the story. And when you're doing other things, like during the week or during the day, you will probably come up with ideas that solves, problems with your plot or with your story. This happens to me all the time. So when I'm not actually sitting down writing, maybe I'm out to going for a walk or whatever, then I'll be like, wait, that is how to solve it. Because your brain will be working subconsciously with your manuscript. And when it comes to writing tools, if you're a beginner, then I would not buy tools like Scrivener. But if you've been writing for a while and want to dive deeper, Scrivener is my favorite writing program, but it does take some time learning it. So yeah, consider, what's your time frame, and if you want to learn more about, or if you just want to sit down and write. And step number 3 is, of course, to start writing. And here it's very, very important that you remember that this is first draft. It does not have to be perfect. It will not be perfect. And it's okay if it has, if it's crap. Because I don't remember who said this, but the first draft is basically you telling yourself the story. So remember that and try not to be a perfectionist. Just get your writing down and don't edit. So leave all the editing for later. And try to find ways to stay motivated. I usually, the writing community on social media really, really helps me staying motivated. And also one way for me to stay motivated is to track my progress. I track, how many days in a row I write, how much I write, and how long I write for, just because then I can look back and see, okay, but I actually did some progress last week or last month, which is really good. And step number 4, now you actually have a finished first draft. First of all, congratulations. That is amazing. You have done, you've come much further than most people already. And now you need to take a break and step away from the manuscript. Leave it be for somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks. Honestly, the longer the better, because when you start revising and editing it, it's better for you to look at your manuscript with a fresh set of eyes and try to read it like it's the first time you see it. And that is really hard to do if you've just finished writing it. So you need to take a break from it. And maybe you can start planning another manuscript whilst waiting. And once you've taken a break, now it's time for editing. Editing in itself, editing is art of itself. And I've actually made a video about my editing process. I will link it down in the description. So please watch that if you're curious about how I edit my books. But it will take a little bit, too much time for me to explain it in this video as well. So now that you have edited your manuscript and feel like it's, it's the best you can do, then start seeking feedback, either from beta readers or from a professional editor, or both. But get, someone else to give you feedback. And then once they've given you feedback, go back and revise and edit it again. And step number 5 is, of course, to finalize your manuscript. In this step, you will look at the grammar, punctuation, the style, the pacing, and hiring a professional editor or a line editor here is also definitely something I recommend. It's, you can take your manuscript to new levels for sure. And last but not least, now that you have a finished manuscript, make sure to do the right formatting for the agent or publicist that you want to send it to. If you're doing it, if you're doing self-publishing, then make sure also that you get the formats right. But this is really important. Like, you can't not get the format right, because that will just look sloppy. These are people that get thousands of manuscripts sent to them, so having it clean and perfect and the right format is super important, because otherwise they won't read it. Because if you haven't bothered taking the time to do it right, they won't either. And a little bit of a bonus tip here is to define your purpose and goals. So this is something that you actually can do before you start writing the manuscript. So choose which genre you want to write in and try to define your target audience. So if you write contemporary romance and you know that your audience is women between their 30s and 40s or whatever, that can actually help you plan both your manuscript and what kind of characters should be in it. And this is very good for you later on, because if you know your target audience already when you're writing, then you can come up with a marketing plan and do all these things. I talk more about marketing in other videos, so I'm not going to talk about that here either. So to conclude this, writing a book is a personal journey that takes a lot of time. And that is why it's important for you to try different writing techniques and to, try what works for you and adapt these steps that I provided in this video for you. And also, read a lot of books about writing and writing processes. I really like On Writing by Stephen King, so that is a recommendation of mine. And yeah, that's all for today. If you like this video, it will really help if you give it a thumbs up. And please subscribe for more content like this. Thank you. I will talk to you soon. Bye.